Hello chaps, welcome to John Robson Guitar Tuition once again as always. I do hope you're well. Today we're looking at strings, cheap strings, but before we get on to that I just want to say a big thank you for the massively positive response I got for that Blues Jam video that I put up. Well, it was actually yesterday, but by the time you see this video it'll been a few weeks ago. If you'd like to see more of that kind of thing, me just sitting and playing the guitar instead of blethering away like this, then let me know in the comments section below. Anyway, strings. Yes, you may recall that a while ago I did a review on a set of Tiger brand strings that are available on eBay for £2 something or other. Very, very cheap indeed. And I bought them because I thought it was worth taking a chance on them. They got glowing reviews from existing customers, and I thought, well, maybe they are okay. I might just have spotted a bargain here. But they were truly, truly awful. I mean, really bad. I'll put a link to the review below this video so you can go and see exactly how bad they were and what was wrong with them. But that has sparked a response from another viewer who has very kindly sent me a bunch of strings, 3 sets, and we're going to go through what they are shortly. In return for this, I'm going to be making a donation to Zoe's Place, which you will see at the end of this video. So what we've got here is a set, excuse me while I get my notes, a set of Irin strings. I think that's how it's pronounced, I-R-I-N, Irin. And these cost £6.23 for 5 sets on eBay. Yeah, I am very sceptical about those. I will be gobsmacked if they turn out to be any good. Next up from that, we've got from Toman, obviously, a set of Harley Benton value strings, which cost £1.32 a set. And topping the price list, we have another set of strings from Harley Benton. This time it's their version of like the coated string kind of deal, like the nano web or poly web kind of strings. And we're going to test all of these strings on this guitar. This is my Harley Benton CST24, which about an hour ago received a brand new fresh set of Ernie Ball 10 to 46 gauge strings. All of these strings are 10 to 46 gauge, and we're going to use the Ernie Balls as the kind of control in this test, the benchmark if you like. What's going to happen is I'm going to very shortly record a little piece of music on this guitar. We're just interested in the natural pure sound of the strings, so it's just going to be on the clean channel on the middle pickup setting. Just a little bit of chordy type stuff, and then in a week's time, after using this guitar for a week, we're going to have a listen to what it sounds like after these Ernie Balls have been on a week, how much of that zing and freshness they've lost. And then we're going to do the same thing for these 3 sets that I've been very kindly sent. So obviously this video is going to take a little while to put together. I've got 3 sets of strings with 2 tests a week apart to do on each set. So yeah, this is going to be kind of a while before you see this. But let's crack on straight away now with the fresh set of Ernie Balls and see what they sound like. And it will be a week for me, but it'll be the blink of an eye for you. Here's what they sound like after they've been on a week. Okay, so that's how the strings differ after they've been on a week. They've lost a little bit of that new string kind of sparkle and spangle to the sound, but basically there's still, plenty of wear left in those strings yet, which kind of, it offends me a little bit to have to kind of chop them off and put a new set on, but that's the test we're running. On the guitar now, the Harley Benton coated strings. So let's hear what a fresh set of those sound like. Well then, first impressions on the Harley Benton coated strings. I've got to say I'm not impressed. They feel quite odd, which people have said about coated strings in the past. They have, to my mind, or to my touch, a plasticky feel to them. They also have quite a plasticky sound, I think, especially when you go near the top strings. It just sounds a little bit lifeless. It's the only way I can describe it is if you've used some kind of cloth on your strings to clean them, and you've got maybe a little bit of lint left kind of trapped on your string or something like that. You know how it kind of dulls the sound a little bit. It's that kind of vibe they've got going on. To show you what I mean, here is a short side-by-side comparison. You're going to hear a few seconds of the fresh out of the box Ernie Ball strings, which will then cut to a few more seconds of the week old Ernie Ball strings, and then we'll go into the fresh out of the box Harley Benton coated strings. See if you can hear what I mean. Do you hear that? It's not my imagination, is it? They don't sound quite as good. Not only do they not sound as good as the fresh out of the box Ernie Ball strings, but they don't, I think, sound as good as the week old Ernie Ball strings. So yeah, screw the test, they're not staying on this guitar. Sorry folks, but those strings are just, if that's the best they're going to sound, then I'm afraid their best isn't good enough. What I'm going to do now is, when I find them, where I'll put them, here they are, I'm going to whip those coated strings off and put these on. These are the Harley Benton value strings, which I think I've used before. If you remember that Harley Benton Victory BK Classic, the Flying V copy, basically, that came fitted with Ernie Ball strings, and with it being a budget guitar, I'm assuming they probably put their budget strings on it. So, yes, I shall get these coated things off and get a set of these on and report back to you. See you in a moment. Well, that's something of a surprise. They sound pretty good. They've got much more zinginess and airiness to the sound, much like the Ernie Balls did. Much more so than the coated strings. Out of the two sets of Harley Bentons, the coated strings, I think, sound vastly inferior to these value strings. The value strings sound far better. They also feel nicer to play on. They don't have that kind of plasticky feel that maybe that's something that all coated strings have. I'm not an aficionado of that type of string, to be honest with you. Yes, So let's leave these on for a week and see how they stand up to a week's worth of abuse by myself and some of my students, and I shall report back. Right then, it's now one very hot, sweaty, corrosive, string knackering week later, and these Harley Benton value strings have been on and been getting some use in that time. So let's hear how they fared. And I don't think that's too bad at all, do you? Still plenty of brightness there. They still feel pretty much like a fresh set of strings. Yes, I do clean me strings every now and again, just a bit of fast fret or something like that, just to kind of zhuzh them up a bit, but I'm not one of these obsessive people that cleans the strings every time they've played the guitar. Life's too short. So yes, very impressed with the Harley Benton value strings. The only downside with these, of course, is that yes, they are cheap, but if you're ordering one set or even 2 or 3 sets, you've still got that €10 shipping fee from Thomann. I suppose one way around that would be to put in a massive order once a year or something like that to stock up on a year's worth of strings, and then you get free shipping for, I think it's over €149. So that bears thinking about, really. Anyway, as I said, there's probably quite a bit of mileage left in these yet, but we're going to take them off and fit the Erin strings, which are incredibly cheap strings that you can find on eBay. Let's see how they sound as a fresh set of strings. Right then, folks, the Erin strings have been on this guitar for just a little bit over a week now, so let's hear what effect a week's worth of sweaty guitar lessons have had on them, shall we? So there you go. Those are the Erin strings after they've been on a week. So now you've heard the Ernie Balls as a fresh set, and after having a week's worth of use, you've heard the Harley Benton coated strings fresh out of the box, and that was enough for me, frankly. They weren't staying on this guitar any longer than that. The Harley Benton value strings as a fresh set and after a week's worth of use, and the Erin strings as a fresh set and after a week's worth of use. So I think it's about time I drew some conclusions. So let's get on with that. Okay, let's have a look at the runners and riders in this little contest, shall we? Over there on the left hand side we have Ernie Ball regular slinkies at £5.49 a set. Next to those, Harley Benton coated strings at £3.88 a set. Then after that we have the Harley Benton human-made value strings at £1.32 a set, and cheapest of the bunch are the Erin high quality nickel alloy wound strings at £6.25 for 5 sets, which mental arithmetic will tell you that works out at £1.25 a set. Now then, straight out of the box, I'm going to say that the best sounding strings were the Ernie Ball regular slinkies. No surprise there, they are the most expensive strings in the lineup. However, in second place, I'm going to say it's the Harley Benton value strings, and in third place, pretty much by default really the Erin strings. That's because obviously the Harley Benton coated strings were unplaced in that particular contest. Now, the Ernie Ball strings may have been the best sounding strings straight out of the packet, but they did kind of lose that zinginess, that fresh string sound quite quickly. In terms of maintaining the sound that they had when they were put on the guitar, although the Harley Benton value strings didn't sound as good as the Ernie Ball strings as a fresh set, they maintained their initial sound for longer. So I'm going to give first place in this particular category to the Harley Benton value strings, with the Erin cheapy eBay strings coming in the silver medal position. Let's not forget, of course, that the Harley Benton coated strings were disqualified from this category because they didn't even sound like a fresh set of strings when they were a fresh set of strings. So, best overall strings here, I would probably conclude the Harley Benton value strings. In terms of value for money, in terms of the sound that you get from them as a fresh set of strings and how they maintain that sound after quite a bit of use and playing in quite humid, sweaty conditions, they bore up really well. The Ernie Ball strings do sound better when you first put them on, but after a few days there's very little to choose between the Ernie Balls and a budget set of strings, to be honest with you. And in third place we have the eBay cheapies, the Erin strings, which, as I've said, are £6.25 for 5 sets, which is £1.25 for an entire set of strings. Let's not forget that. And for that money, they do get the job done. They may be a little bit rough feeling, but they are still nowhere near as bad as those horrible Tiger strings that I reviewed a while ago. I won't go into what was wrong with those. Check out the link below this video if you want to watch the review and see exactly what I'm talking about. Right then, there you have it. I'm awarding the gold medal to the Harley Benton value strings. In terms of the tone they produce and the value for money aspect, I just think it's the best all-round deal. Yes, the Ernie Ball regular slinkies do sound a little bit better when you first put them on as a fresh set, but it's not a huge difference, and it's a difference which disappears after a few days anyway. So I just think the Harley Benton value strings, as I say, give the best deal. What I'm going to do is switch brands. I'm going to start ordering some Harley Benton value strings and put them on my guitars and just see how things pan out over a longer period, and I'll keep you informed on that score. Now, the one drawback that I mentioned earlier with these Harley Benton strings is that they come from Toman, and there is a €10 shipping fee for orders under €149. Well, I've since found out that you can get these strings on eBay with free shipping, as you can see here. Now, they work out a little bit more expensive. They're not £1.32 a set, they're £1.95 a set, but that's still fantastic value. So that's what I'm going to be doing in order to order more sets of these strings. Now then, the very generous viewer who donated all the strings for this video did so because it was part of his way of donating to the Guitars for Good Causes Zoe's Place campaign. And as I said earlier, I will be making a donation to Zoe's Place on his behalf for the strings. The total value of the strings that he donated was £6.45, so I thought I'd round that up to a nice even £10 and fire that over to Zoe's Place, which is what I've done, as you can see via this receipt here. And finally, this whole deal with the coated strings, I've never really used them before, but I would be interested in hearing your comments. Is that what coated strings are like? Have I just, during the course of this video, discovered that I don't like coated strings? Because it seems a bit odd to me that, that people would go, yep, there's a set of strings, they cost twice as much as a regular set of strings, they sound quite dull and they feel plasticky to play on. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, sign me up. Because that is my experience of using certainly these coated strings. Is that a fair representation of what like the more expensive coated strings like Elixir are actually like as well? Let me know. And with that, I think we'll wrap things up for today. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll never miss another one. And finally, I will just, as I always do, say that if you would like some tailored one-to-one guitar tuition, then give me a shout via the details at the end of this video. If you live on Teesside in the northeast of England, you can come along for a face-to-face lesson, or wherever you are in the world, you can have a lesson via Skype. And whichever way you do it, your first lesson is free, so you got nothing to lose. And with that, I'll bid you all good day, look forward to seeing you next time, and say bye for now, folks.